How you doing? At least I'm rested. Um, Never had such a response as I had, and it was several months ago. A bunch of people wanted me to talk about this topic as far as demons and evil. I don't know if it's because so many people watch horror movies or, you know, it's a fact that when you look deeply into the darkness actually looks back into you. Um, but I understand that. Of course, metaphysics is hyper-rational and logical. True metaphysics is. And I think people appreciated and liked that video so much from many months ago on demons, and I said I could go into a lot more discussion on the topic, and I certainly can, because I'm not interested in the approach of, I don't know, like Dante or, the position of any Abrahamic religion's slant on this, and of course, all the superstition and superficiality. Of course, at the base of that, there's a seed of truth at a lot of it, but since an enormous amount of people wanted me to discuss that topic, I will. There's a reason why, not just because of Dante, which is where the the Christian world, actually, Catholic especially, gets their idea of hell being hot from Dante. But the actual genuine metaphysics of it, and I get into discussing anode and cathode here. I don't know if you know about a cold cathode effect. The opposite of that is a hot anode. As the anode heats, the cathode cools. There's actually a polarity of individual, both living and disembodied. And this means a perpetual burning of something that can never be maintained. True rest, true transcendence, that which is closest to the divine or the one, is of course rest, and it is cooled. Anytime there is heat, this is in reference to also to spiritual agitation, the reason why hell and so-called daemons, I talk about the Greek word daemon, and what it truly means, and this is where we get the English word demon from, but I guarantee you there's probably none of you that are familiar with the true meaning of daemon and what it means, and it is applicable too. There are parallels in the living world of demons, and they have an enormous amount in common. But there's actually spiritual polarization of a disembodied being. Now, the polarization of a psychophysical being, I've talked about this before, is between the two selves. All forms of Greek, Indian, and Egyptian metaphysics speaks of the two selves, the immanent self and the transcendent self. The immanent self, of course, is Bob Larry, always in flux, and has its root in existential consciousness, which has a beginning in time and an end in time. And that is the immanent self, the transcendent self, which of course would be the cathode self. And of course the anode self of the psychophysical, as the Indians would believe, when a body gets cooled, it should be set upon the funeral pyre, because it's just like a piece of wood. It's meant to be burned and disposed of, because the heat is actually gone from the body. And this is where we actually get the idea, not only Dante, but true original and ancient metaphysics, the idea of hell and demons, being a fiery, hot place. Let's just leave out Dante here. Dante actually gets that from ancient sources as well. The psychophysical self, or the immanent self, which of course must eat food, and of course human beings generate heat. What's the average human body temperature? 99.1 degrees. I can't remember exactly what it is. But that has to be perpetually fed. If we don't eat and drink and respirate, of course the human body dies, and then there is rest, because there then is, of course, death is not the opposite of life, rather the end of life. You actually have a disunion between body and spirit. Now, so far as a disembodied being, the actual agitation we actually cannot see in any form of spectrum, but the so-called cold spots, and where beings actually come into contact with people, they're not actually drawing energy out of the environment, has been postulated by everybody. They're actually exhibiting cold cathode effect. That cold cathode effect is where they're trying to materialize themselves and or communicate. This is cold cathode effect. On the other end of the spectrum, the agitation is the anode of spirit. And I'm actually drawing into something here. I don't want to bore you on this. You want me to get the important stuff about demons, but this is where we get the idea of hell and demons being involving fire. Perpetual agitation, which can be fed and must perpetually be fed, just as the immanent self of the body must be perpetually fed with food, water, clothing. If we don't have clothing, we might freeze and die. And of course, then we have disunion of the body, where we have the cold cathode effect of complete disunion. The body is cold. It's no longer being fueled by the spirit or the soul. Not that that is, of course, what leads to bodily temperature from the consumption of food. But a demon by basis is of two types. There are those that are living demons that actually become demons, and there are those that have never been born. And this, of course, Judeo-Christianity, the idea of fallen angels, I'm not interested in actually discussing. And there's a seed of truth. There's actually more than a few seeds of truth in these religions, including the Kabbalah and especially the Old Testament, on demons. And I'm actually interested in the metaphysics of that which we call demons, or daemon in the Greek. And one thing I'm certain you probably are not aware of, and this is true in the physical world, where we talked about, and you've heard this a million times. You don't even have to look this up because you've seen it. Somebody that is the closest thing to a living demon. Just take your pick. You can think of 10 of them right off the top of your head. Every time it was said of them, oh, they were just so intelligent, I don't know what went wrong. He was just like top of his class, and I can't believe he committed all these heinous deeds. Same thing is true of a spiritual polarization in a living being. When there is too much of one thing, it's either good or it's incredibly bad. Spiritual polarization of anybody that has wisdom means that there is a separation between the psychophysical self and the transcendent self. This is, of course, the premise of the dead man walking. And the average fool, you know, who works and comes home and dreams of having an ice cream bar and a plate of lasagna, and that's not me, actually, but it kind of sounds like me. These people are never in conflict with themselves. All ancient masters of wisdom, including Jesus in the New Testament, Gautama in the Nikayas, are actually attacked by, in the case of the New Testament, Satan. In the case of the Nikayas, the Pali version of Satan, which is Mara. And this is actually nothing other than the psychophysical persona non grata, which is always at war with the transcendent self. And an ignorant fool, there is no polarization. It's like you have two ingredients and they're perfectly mixed, and you have one homogeneous mixture. Or like my sunflower butter in there. If you let it sit, which should be kind of analogous to wisdom, kind of, sort of, not really, where the actual nut butter is at the bottom and the oil's floating at the top, and you know, when you open it up, you kind of have to fight to stir it together. You know, you have an issue here where there's actually polarization, and this only occurs in wise people. In foolish people that are living, these are people that are highly intelligent and yet have no wisdom at all. I've said a million times, countless years in innumerable videos, that the most dangerous person on earth, and this has always been the truth, is not the ignorant fool, both unwise and unintelligent. The most dangerous person on earth always has been and always will be someone that is both incredibly intelligent or very intelligent and yet extremely foolish, meaning having no wisdom. The actual true meaning of daemon from the Greek is a derivative, of course, which we get the word demon, but a daemon means an entity that is replete or full of knowledge, i.e. episteme. I do not confuse, as much of the Western world unfortunately does, confuse wisdom, i.e. gnosis, with episteme, or empirical knowledge. So just think about that for a second if you need to pause the video. A demon is an entity that is replete with knowledge, but has no wisdom. Human beings, of course, are these demons that we deem very intelligent, but an intelligence is a self-collapsing system. It is, of course, based in consciousness. It is the fire which must perpetually be fed. There is no wisdom, there is no rest there. There is no idea of a premise of rest. You know as well as I do, or at least I assume you do, because anybody with 5 brain cells upstairs knows that highly intelligent people are caught up in the minutiae of the clutter of their consciousness and the endless bombardment of empirical facts, but they have no understanding of a distinction between or an idea of wisdom or self-proximity. This idea of rest or a cold cathode spiritual effect, which of course is the basis of theurgy. Wisdom, of course, is self-proximity and the closest thing to rest, which is the antithesis, of course, of modulation. Those without wisdom are deprived of divine likeness, or as Plotinus speaks of monos pros monon, hither from the one, thence unto the one by means of wisdom. But that's a matter of another discussion. That's rather a deep discussion of monistic metaphysics. Demons see reflected light in terms of temporary forms. Now, whether it is a living demon or a never been embodied demon, they exhibit the exact same principles of great intelligence, yet a total lack or a near total lack of wisdom, and I'd like to get to that. They attack demons, whether they be living or disembodied. And of course, once they're deceased and they're disembodied, but there's never before born demons, and I'm not interested in this idea of fallen angels. You could believe in whatever you want, but there are, of course, demons that have never been embodied. And yet, through corruption of their empirical knowledge and the weight thereof, they have no wisdom, and they seek to attack the Logos. They attack the Logos, they attack illuminated forms, knowing, and rightly so, that they are transient. They actually seek a inverse form, kind of like a bizarro world. Everything is absolutely upside down. They seek a type of unmanifest destruction. And to them, in their deluded minds, just as in the deluded minds of intelligent beings, whether they be embodied or disembodied, they seek the destruction of that which they know by heart is ephemeral. And of course, I've always said, and as does every form of divine metaphysics speak, anything that has a beginning in time has an end in time. The beauty that we see, of course, they see accurately as must befall absolute destruction and decay, but what they can't see is that the Logos of something is not in the thing, just as there's no signal. You know, say it's your favorite music. Of course, this is just weather radio, but if I'd actually had it tuned to an FM station, which is, you're listening to your favorite music, that being the beautiful, which is analogous perfectly to the Logos. A demon lacking wisdom seeks to attack that, but they don't understand that the Logos, or the animated beauty of, say, your favorite music, for example, is not in or partial, part or parcel to that psychophysical form. They're actually attacking something, thinking it is something else, and this, of course, is the true mark of their absolute ignorance. They always attack the Logos. This is the one thing all religions have got right. All demons, whether they be living demons or never born demons, i.e. disembodied entities that are by definition demons. And remember, a daemon is an entity replete with knowledge. Every evil, heinous person on this earth that's done unspeakable things that I don't want to talk about, and you could think of a lot of them off the top of you. They've always said that even the people that despise them the most, they're so intelligent, I can't believe they did this. They lack understanding. They're actually giving the answer, but they don't understand the answer. Yes, they're incredibly intelligent. They're replete with knowledge, which is what demon means. Once again, demon means full of knowledge, daemon. But there's no wisdom there. There's no understanding there. They attack the Logos. They attack beauty. They attack anything that they see as the divine. And I'd like to talk about the two lights and the two darknesses here. Demons can only see reflected light. They cannot see light. By the way, a bad daemon or a wicked daemon, which is in Greek kakaudemon. This is, by the way, this is where we get the word kaka from, which, you know, kaka means poo, it means evil, it means awful, of course it means wicked. As thou covetest, thus shalt thou become. When you actually covet the inferior illumination, you covet the reflected light, because you can say, well, this is the light on my hand. Well, nobody ever sees light, they see illumination. And like the light coming off this rock, my hand, my face, is reflected illumination. It is consubstantial to the form. They think they're attacking light, but they're not. They actually attack that which they know must undergo destruction. They're incredibly knowledgeable, but they don't actually have wisdom. They are attacking, seeking to destroy. And in their eyes, thence the destruction is to them salvation, because they're always attacking that which must necessitatively decay and destroy. This is the reason why they attack things that are beautiful, they attack things that are holy, they attack things that contain the logos of the divine. But that's as stupid as attacking this radio. Say, once again, your favorite music is coming through it. You know you're going to attack this, but the broadcast out of the speaker, is not the signal. It's the interpretation and the logos of the signal, but not the signal itself. But they will attack this, wanting to destroy it, and to them they see that by means of their ignorance as a type of wisdom, but it's an upside down or a bizarro world ignorance. They're attacking forms of phenomena which must, of course, decay and be destroyed. But what they're actually attacking is not that which they seek to destroy. The logos is not there in the beautiful. Neither is the signal in the radio. Does anybody think that there's a signal in this radio? Kind of a near perfect analogy. It's applicable to so many things. No, of course there's no signal in the radio. Why would you attack it? Well, I'm gonna attack that beautiful signal coming out of that radio. Well, you can smash the radio and it'll stop working forever. And they think that that is an accomplishment of something. But all they've done is destroy the consubstantiality between the radio and the signal. The signal cannot be destroyed. Metaphysically, of course, a daemon is one who worships darkness. But the inferior darkness, not the darkness of the unmanifest. Because there's two lights and there's two darknesses. And this is something... By the way, once again, that's where we get the word caca from. We've heard this. That's caca, meaning poo. But it means wicked or foul, and of course that's what poo is something that's foul. Can't call poo wicked unless you smear it on smear it on something. This idea of cacao daemon or wicked daemon. So ignorant intelligence, of course, lacks wisdom. They want the unbecome, but the unbecome of destruction rather than the unbecome of the unmanifest light. So, metaphysically, once again, a demon is one who worships darkness, but the lesser darkness. There are, of course, two lights and two darknesses in all monistic metaphysics, Greek, Indian, and Egyptian. The two lights is the unseen light, because nobody ever sees light. They see illumination, i.e. the modulation. True light would be actual energy or rest. Yeah. The other light is reflected light. Everything that you see that's coming to the camera is, of course, a reflected light. This red light on my tattoos or whatever color, it's consubstantial with that tattoo ink, for example. That's reflected light. It's consubstantial. And it's not light. Once again, it's an inferior form of illumination. There's two darknesses, too. There's the light meaning as unmanifest. Like if there's two things in the universe, the sun and yourself in a spacesuit floating in space, had your back to the sun, it would be complete and total pitch darkness, right? Because there's nothing for the light to reflect off. That would be kind of a really good analogy of the unmanifest light, because it is not falling upon anything. And of course there's the other type of darkness, which is the darkness that is shadow, that's cast by matter. Demons, by purpose of their intelligence and by magnitude of their lack of wisdom and understanding, they attack the shadows, they attack the forms. That which comes out of this speaker, for example,
frequency mode,
is almost perfectly the shadow cast by matter, except in this case, it's not really a shadow, but it kind of is. It's actually also, too, the secondary light. It's the reflected light. And, of course, the signal is everywhere and nowhere. We know the signal that this radio is attuned to. You know, it's everywhere and nowhere. You know that, right? I love it when people say, ghosts don't exist. It's like, you mean disembodied beings. That's right, I don't believe it. It's like, well, I don't care what you believe in. I'm only interested in facts, logic, and wisdom. The signal is antecedent to not part of the radio. To say that disembodied beings don't exist is as stupid as saying that once you smash the radio, the signal is destroyed. I mean, it's just crazy. The term ghost, of course, is a loaded word. But once again, you should think about that, too, while you're taking a shower, taking a bath. think about the two lights. The light as in principle, or the agathon, or the transcendent one, or the divine, whatever word you want to use, I don't care. And the other light, which is a reflected light. Two darknesses, the darkness of the unmanifest light, because it is nowhere manifest. If there's nothing for light to fall upon, we don't see anything, because nobody ever sees light. Light everywhere, but you can't see it. There's only two things in the universe. You and the sun. You got your back to the sun. There's light everywhere. You know there is. Well, I can't see it. It's because it's unmanifest. That would be the principled darkness. Not that we really call it darkness. Rather, the unmanifest transcendent. And then, of course, the second darkness, which is the shadow that's cast by matter. Demons, by means of their lack of wisdom, attack the reflected light, and they attack the forms and shadows cast by matter. In their upside-down world of lack of wisdom but great intelligence, they think that this is noble. They think they're doing the right thing. This is what I've never really heard anybody else say, including any religion. They, by their own, upside-down mind, meaning highly intelligent but no wisdom, are doing the right thing. I'm going to attack this foul form and phenomena, I see the beauty here, but it falls to the decay. It's like, well, yeah, so does the radio, but the beauty is not in or of. So they attack that which does not have it. There's no soul in the body any more than there's a signal in the radio, but that's neither a denial of the signal nor of the radio. So demons always attack the logos, the beautiful, and anything that they see is close to the one or the transcendent divine. This is invariably the case, and this has nothing to do with what religions say. Intelligence, of course, cleaves to the lesser light and darkness and seeks to destroy anything of the lesser light and images, especially anything that is logically and obviously considered to be beautiful. Beauty of the lesser light, of course, is the logos and that which is most despised by demons. Here's what demons say. This is a short list. Yeah, perfect logic and metaphysics in this, by the way. Demons hate beauty, the logos. They hate water. This is where we get the idea of holy water and baptism from. Yeah, it goes far, far, far prior to Judeo-Christianity. This idea of water purification, because water itself is the divine logos. Yeah, the 115 incommensurability is the reason why I got it tattooed right here on the back of my right hand. Demons say beauty, the logos, water. They hate wisdom. They think they have wisdom, but they have intellect. Once again, a daemon is something replete with knowledge, full of knowledge. And they hate true faith, because true faith is seeking after the divine and proximity to the divine. They think they actually possess the divine, but they themselves, whether they be living or disembodied, are like this fire, which of course is not a real fire, but you know what I'm talking about, a real fire, must constantly be fed as a bottomless pit of despair and toil. I mean, if they would only let it rest. But they can't, because they have no wisdom. Water is, of course, the divine logos of life. And this is too reflected in some religious texts, where in the Gospel of Luke it is stated that demons walk in dry places and find no rest to return to their previous home. They despise water. The idea of baptism and holy water, this is far, 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 far more ancient than Christianity or the Bible. Because water is the divine logos. It's the interlocutor between spirit and matter. For life to be manifest. So demons say water, beauty, the logos. They hate wisdom. They hate faith. That's just the short list. There are other things that they do hate. But that's the metaphysics of daemons. So think about what a daemon is. And this is reflected once again in living daemons. He's so intelligent. I can't believe he did all those horrible things. It's like, yeah, he's incredibly intelligent, but he had no wisdom. This is to be polarized towards evil, because evil is deprivation from that which is most true and divine and the one. Highly intelligent, extremely unwise. Once again, as I've said a million times, the greatest evil in the world of beings has always been highly intelligent and incredibly unwise. Always has been, always will be. I hope you like these videos. You're going to contact me. My information and emails in the description below. Any donation is always warmly welcome. Have a lovely week. Lux et veritas.